To those who follow me on Twitter, you might be wondering why this isn't a review on the Final Fantasy XV DLC. Well, originally I decided to wait until all of the story DLC was done, since it was looking like there was at least one more being done after Episode Ignis, but then I found a new reason.
You asked for it.
Jeez!
Yeah, they went there. All the DLC, all the add-ons you can imagine, and all for me to check out. So come August, I'll be doing a continuation on Final Fantasy XV, but with the Royal Edition. Until then, I'm going to start out the year right with a review on a movie that recently had a sequel released. That's right, Paddington! Wait, that's not Paddington! Oh, well then I guess I should do the review I was going to do after that first. Nothing ever goes my way.
Romans were a fighting lot. Their ships were fast and long. They won the Mediterranean with sailors big and strong.
The Magic Voyage is one of the most notorious examples of film adaptations to historical events that cause dramatic change to what really happened to fit a more suitable narrative, much like with the animated Titanic movies. But this one is even more insulting given what it's adapting, and that's the history of Christopher Columbus. Columbus is often portrayed as a hero who helped in establishing trade routes to America, and even starting settlements there, when in reality, he wanted to find a trade route to Asia by sailing westward, only to discover the Bahamas archipelago, and over many years would commit genocide to the people living there. But that didn't stop people from believing the more noble stories of him being the one to find and establish America, because pride or whatever. In any case, that's the basis for this movie. It was made in Germany by Bavaria Film, one of Europe's largest film production companies at the time, under the name Die Adventure von Pico and Columbus, or The Adventures of Pico and Columbus. The latter title being the name for the first English dub by Atlas Film in 1992, before receiving a second English dub by Hemdale Film Corporation in 1993, under the title The Magic Voyage. As far as I can tell, both dubs have similar dialogue, though I'll bring up comparisons when necessary, as otherwise I'm going to focus on the latter dub. At the time, this would have been Germany's most expensive animated film, which would estimate to roughly 14 million US dollars, though compared to others with higher budgets, does it at least manage to pull off something at least on par to those? Well, come aboard with me and we'll find out on The Magic Voyage. It opens with some lovely paintings of 1400s vessels sailing the unknown waters of the world, before we get narration from Mickey Rooney.
A long time ago, people thought the world was flat, and if you sailed uncharted waters, you just might fall over the edge into space.
Yeah, but nowadays the only people who think that are uneducated and have never bothered to try and prove their crazy theory by, I don't know, going to where they think the edge is. Photographic evidence is key, people.
But in 1492, there appeared an Italian navigator, a man with a revolutionary idea. He thought that the world was square.
So now that we have some actual animation, which shows some signs of choppiness in a few areas, it's time to meet our main character. And if you're thinking it's Columbus, then nope. It's actually this woodworm, Pico, voiced by Corey Feldman.
I used to be a bookworm. I sat up on the shelf. Whoops, wrong way. Let's try again. I used to be a bookworm. I sat up on the shelf. I read about exotic lands. I yearned to see myself.
Well, he's certainly happy-go-lucky, despite the fact this bird wants to eat him. And who is he singing to? Us? I mean, he keeps looking at the screen, so I imagine he would. Doesn't change the fact the song isn't really good. But I'll say this, He sounds more into it than the Atlas dub.
I used to be a bookworm and sat upon the shelf. I read about exotic lands, I yearned to see myself.
What? Whoa!
Whoa! Surfing, pretty cool. Whoa!
Hey, look up!
Put your head. Sorry. Pretty steep. Climb here. No big deal.
Unfortunately, he won't stop adding in dialogue even when there's not supposed to be any. And with this sequence, it did actually follow both Atlas and German dubs, as he wasn't moving his lips when he said that. But later it becomes very obvious that the Hemdale dub does it even more than the previous versions. And for the record, this isn't just limited to Pico. Other characters will get this treatment too. For now, we meet Christopher Columbus, voiced by the late Dom DeLuise, with a not-so-good Italian accent, despite being Italian himself.
Oh, but for Napoli! Oh, my map is sure stink. How come a genius like me is so stupid? All the time people say to me, face it, Chris, it's 1492, and the world is still flat.
He just sounds like any other character he voiced, only forcing the accent onto him. The character actually sounded rather decent in the Atlas dub.
Yeah, for Napoli! My math sure stinks. How can a genius like me be so stupid? All the time people say to me, face it, Chris, it's a 1492 and the world she's still flat. You waste your time making these stupid cubes.
While not all of the voice actors in the Atlas dub are any better than the ones from the Hemdale dub, many seem to put in more effort and feel like a better fit to these characters than anything this dub gives. It just doesn't change the fact the story isn't well written. I mean, for goodness sake, a talking bug shows up and he has no real reaction to that fact other than...
You look as you do to my...
Whoa!
Maybe the world she's around? Might work at that. Grazie, little...
Pico the woodworm, at your service.
And I'm a Christopher Columbus. Put it there, pal. Hey, how does a woodworm get to be so smart?
So, no questions about the talking insect even existing. What kind of world is this where a bumbling navigator doesn't question what may be an exotic species? And yeah, that's the Columbus they're going for. Apparently, they wanted to differentiate themselves from other takes on him in a more satirical view to make him seem more lovable compared to the real thing. Yeah, even if you're trying to pull a Captain Phillips or whatever, that doesn't change actual history that people can look up easily, in which case, he was a tyrant who murdered millions with his slave trade. Try satirizing that one. So he just takes his word that the world is round just because his globe can spin now, and decides to tell him about his belief that you can sail from Italy to India. All he needs to do is prove to the king and queen this theory is plausible, and together they set off for the castle.
Day my life was dreary, now suddenly I'm bright and cheery, and all because I met a fella like you.
All this time I kept ignoring that my life was so dull and boring, and then all at once I met a fella like you.
Really? You didn't seem that bored when we first met you! Time for more animation talk during this rather boring song. The animation director of this movie was Phil Nebelink, who has been credited for character animation and other roles for films like The Fox and the Hound, Oliver and Company, and We're Back, A Dinosaur Story. With other American animators like Rick Morrison and George Singer, you can kinda see this resembling other American-made cartoons. Which would be a good thing, as I like the backgrounds and some of the animation present here. But again, it can be choppy, but also inconsistent. This took 3 years of production, by the way, so I can't imagine how you can't spot errors like this. Also, anyone find it weird that everyone in town seems to like Columbus and treat him like a life-changing person, despite how the king and queen will react? Speaking of, we see that this is like some sort of tryout session to get funding from them. Here we have King Ferdinand, who is a real dick.
Not ready? Did you hear that, Stupendo? He said he's not ready. Look, I'm ready. He's ready. You're ready. He's ready.
He's ready.
Oh, wow. What? Oh, no. I guess he wasn't ready. Next!
Hey look, it's a creepy advisor character. You might be thinking this is a ripoff of Jafar, but you'd be wrong. For again, this movie took 3 years to make, and I assume Aladdin had a similar production period, so I don't think either would know what the other had, so Diego here is a coincidence. Columbus tries to pitch his theory about the Earth being round, and it being better to sail to India than to travel by land, but the king gets annoyed and tries to have him thrown out. That is until his scary wife shows up.
Oh, what is it, darling? What a pleasant surprise. What are you doing up so early?
All your lousy screaming woke me up. Oh, who's this?
No one, dear. Just another genius.
What?
You know?
I don't believe you. He's much too handsome. Mwah.
You know, I don't know if she sounds better in this version, or worse than the Atlas dub counterpart.
All your lousy screaming woke me up. Oh, who's this?
No one, dear. He's just another genius, you know.
I don't believe you. He's much too handsome.
You be the judge. Since she's so smitten with him, it makes it easier to explain to them about the round Earth theory. Though really, what were they expecting? That the ship piece would stay on an inanimate object, but get surprised by the bug they can't see that holds it on? Anyway, she agrees to give him ships and holds a dinner party for him.
What a disgusting display. But don't let it get to you, sire. He had his ships, yes, but we know he's not coming back.
Oh, and if you're wondering if Diego will have any impact on the plot, don't. He only has one more scene after this, and neither he or the royal family have anything to do with what's coming up next. Meanwhile, Pico goes exploring the castle, with some of the worst ad-libbing of the film yet.
Hey, that looks pretty cool. Oh, trampoline. Ha! I like it. Whoa! 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 Oh, it didn't work. Oh, watch out, watch out! Whoa! Saved by the bell. Whoa! Hey, these are pretty cool. I look stupid.
The Atlas dub just had to make Rhapsody sounds like he is here. So why are you doing this, dub?
This is fun. This is stupid. This is stupid fun.
Because children wouldn't pay attention otherwise, as children apparently have low attention spans. Now we get the real plot of the movie introduced. This is Marilyn, a gnome sprite who claims to come from a faraway land.
Princess?
I was in the land of blue twilight, where the nectar is always sweet. And the moon was as bright as the sun, and the night as glorious as the day. Ours was the land of beauty and enchantment.
So this would seem nice to look at, but they really just now decided to include a fairy tale plot in a film about Christopher Columbus? That's like adding demons to the 47 Ronin lore. It just doesn't fit into history. More importantly, it seems her land was wrecked by a swarm of insects, which can form together to create the Swarm Lord. Whatever the hell that is.
At last, princess, the secret of your magic light will be mine. With this power, I shall become invincible. You will tell me everything.
Funny enough, the German dub has him share the same voice actor as Diego, Eric Vossen. And even though he's credited to 3 characters, I almost want to believe that Diego and the Swarm Lord were the same character because of the choice in voice actors and their hats. It would also explain why he had her imprisoned here, because if anything, she can easily leave. No one's stopping her, but oh, I guess he has insect guards after all. You have wings. You can fly away anytime.
As for you.
Oh, well, there was nothing they could do about it.
It's the Swarm Lord!
Quick, get behind me. I'll protect you.
Going, my
Don't worry about
dear.
that.
It is time.
All right, mister.
For you to give me your
You don't know who you're
power.
messing with.
What did you say to me, you little worm?
Oh my god. Quick, come on, run!
The
Quick!
princess is mine.
What the hell just happened? So he takes her across the ocean, perhaps to the same land that Columbus will end up on? Well, the day of cast-off is here and everyone celebrates, but Pico runs late because he slept in the same spot he collapsed before. And we spend an entire sequence with him trying to reach the boat, as well as having a confrontation with some rats that I can barely make out because they're pitch black. Yet Pico isn't for some reason.
Wait, did I mention that I know where there's a big ship with lots of food?
Oh good, they only get colored in after they come into the light. Well, he tells them about food on the ship he's going on, which caused them to run ahead of him, and of course they make it, while Pico is left behind. Columbus doesn't realize he's gone at first.
Go Globe! Now I remember. Was it right? How could I forget about Pico?
Pico?
Sure, my little woodworm friend.
Woodworm? You have a woodworm for a pet on a wooden ship?
Hey, this guy is more than a pet. He's the one who told me the world was round.
And now the crew will think he's crazy. This can't possibly lead to anything bad happening. Luckily, Pico is able to trick that one bird to fly him over. But before he can get on board, he has to confront the rats, who for some reason have teleported right onto the rope. Seriously.
You lied to us. Lies. Yeah!
I didn't lie. I was just merely,
You didn't say nothing about sailing off the edge. Off the edge. We didn't find no food. Neither.
But if you leave now, you'll never get to the land of the big cheese.
The big cheese?
Were they imagining him as a big slice of cheese or something? Well, Pico reunites with Columbus and tells him all about the Swarm Lord and his girlfriend. Columbus just accepts this stuff. I mean, why not? He's already talking to an insect. Then we get some padding with him decorating the inside of his globe. Can you tell he really likes Marilyn?
Man, what's he doing? He's talking to his globe. No, wait a minute. He's talking to his little world. What did I tell you? He's crazy. Now, he's kissing the little world.
I am not even gonna use Robbie Rotten here. It's not worth it.
The great Christopher Columbus, hero, explorer, genius.
Fully erect and totally horny. Seriously, I think that's what they're implying.
Look, the leader of Peter and the Santa Maria. Wow! It's the Queen, Isabella, give me a kiss. Yes, sir, I'm ready. Here I come. Ready or not. 1, 2.
I should be enjoying the surreality of the moment, but there's not enough substance or freaky imagery to look at. Naturally, the crew thinks they're heading toward the edge of the world and plan to dispose of Columbus. Pico finds out and tries to warn him, but is once again confronted by the rats. He gets the better of them since all he has to do is outlap them in a circular area of the ship and trick one of them into running the other way. Ha!
We're gonna your throat.
Oh, hogwash! You exaggerate. My men love me. Hello, boys. On the other hand, wait. I got an idea. Now, down the course of history, on this you must agree, the bravest men were always those who sailed across the sea.
I don't even know what the hell is happening anymore. So he thinks breaking into song will stop them from killing him? Given how he moves, it should make him even more crazy. But it gets weirder. Check out this editing.
Romans were a fighting lot. Their ships were fast and long. They won the Mediterranean with sailors big and strong.
I guess he's trying to say that other famous historian figures did amazing things because of their trusty sailors, so they should take a chance to seize glory in finding the world being round? That's the best I can take from this. Also, in the Atlas dub, they seem to either change the voice actor for this song, or the actor is just singing in his normal voice.
I heard a tale of travelers who feared they'd reach the edge, but long before a serpent came and ate them up instead. And ate them all up instead.
Time for bed. Good night.
After so long without addressing Marilyn or the plot, Pico has a dream sequence with her.
Oh, it's Marilyn. How nice of you to visit me in a dream. I really like dreaming because I can fly.
Oh.
Well, maybe I can't fly.
My hand.
Hi. Hi.
Don't be
Oh my gosh. Whoa, I love kisses.
And I hate your ad-libbing. Even though Atlas Pico is a little more quieter and a bit more on point, you literally had to explain your breakup.
This isn't a dream, this is a nightmare. Where's Marilyn? Marilyn, come back. I know what to do. Oh, I could chop down 1,000,000 trees and still not have my love. What's that?
I love you, Pico.
Marilyn! You do love me! You do love me! Oh, this is amazing!
Pico!
Marilyn! Marilyn, is that you? I wish.
I love you, Pico. She loves me. She loves me.
Let's be honest, even in the other versions of the movie, the actions of the characters remain the same. So it doesn't change the overall fact that they didn't know how to frame any of their sequences. We spent little time building a relationship between Pico and Marilyn, had little time with the main villain, spent a lot of time sailing and doing nothing but confront disgruntled sailors and rats. It's been roughly a half hour since the main villain showed up and nothing interesting's happened. All we have are poorly done gags and banter that doesn't lead anywhere. Then, any surreal moments they have that they think might have a point to building character just feels empty and devoid of any meaning. It's boring. This is the most boring boat ride I've seen. Finally, after a storm passes through, they find something on the other side. And it's the remains of a ship. Furious, the crew decides to do away with their captain. Until...
Over there! No, I'm serious! I see land! Boys! Boys! Look over there! I see it! Land! I never gave you any reason to doubt me!
Whoa, shaky, whoa, whoa! There's that foot again.
Nico! Are you
Whoa,
alright?
that was cool. Whoa.
This took 3 years to make. 3 years and with a good animator, and they couldn't make this flow better. Just then, the Swarm Lord shows up. I guess he was the reason that the first boat didn't make it. Anyway, he attacks.
Destroy the ship!
Let me out, reveal!
I got a few hands, here they come again!
We are going down!
I repeat, 3 years to make this. And suddenly an Aztec temple is on land. And I guess Marilyn is the sacrifice? Whatever. At this point, I think the movie gave up on any resemblance of point, as now we have a talking beaver, who helps Pico out despite having his home destroyed earlier.
Hey, by the way, Bob, what's a beaver doing in a tropical dump like this, you know? Aren't you beaver guys usually like slopping around in icy ponds or something?
Oh, you know, that's a really interesting story. When I woke up, I was just off the shore of this here island, and that's the truth.
Island?
Yeah.
Oh, now I see the satire they were going for. He still didn't land in America, yet he's probably gonna think he did. By the way, Short Rat apparently died during the swarm attack. They say he's out cold, but we never see him again. So since there's gold inside the temple, Columbus reluctantly decides to go with them since the jungle is eyeing him.
Wow, I bet there's some pretty cool animals here, like lions and tigers and bears, oh my!
Lions, tigers, and bears?
I don't know.
Atlas Dub says,
Do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals? Huh?
So basically the Hemdale dub threw in a movie reference. Of course they would. More padding, this time them trying to get up on top of the temple. And no one is trying to stop them. Literally no one. Not even these natives who just chuckle after Columbus falls onto them. Will something please happen?
I knew he would come.
What? That's impossible. The woodworm is dead!
He's beaten you, Swarm Lord.
Not yet, my dear. I shall cover your light. Now he sees you.
Any follow-ups? Not gonna send your swarm after them? No? Just more slapstick? Well, they get inside and we find that the swarm apparently comes from beehives? So the evil insects we've been seeing were all bees? They certainly didn't look like any bees I've seen before. But here's where the writing really gets messed up.
Hey, that's it, Pico. We'll eat our way to the top.
Whoa! All of this gold!
What are we waiting for?
We gotta get that sword.
No, Pico, help me. Oh!
I'm coming, Marilyn!
Oh boy, what a day! Enough of gold to make the king and queen a complete set of dinnerware for 12, and they're gonna have me to thank for it.
Did any of that make sense? Pico starts eating his way up, gets stopped by Bob the Beaver, who says they should eat their way up, which was what Pico was doing a moment ago, so he does it again. And while he makes it to Maryland, Columbus is oblivious as all hell and spouting nonsense.
And now, Mr. Puppet, will you get the gold? Okay, okay.
Seriously, the movie just gave up on being sense-worthy. I think even the Atlas dub realized how dumb this was, as the uploads of the movie I've seen actually cut a few things out. It might not look really coherent here, but it's better he have a torch all of a sudden than a stupid sock puppet. Through more shenanigans, he distracts the swarm long enough to let Pico and Marilyn escape. Bob and crew chew down the honeycomb tower while Columbus finds real gold. Pico battles the final boss.
It's my mind!
Boy, my goodness!
What's this one? Take this! Take a piece of this!
For some reason, during their temple escape, Marilyn ends up nearly dying for a cheap, sad moment. But she's fine, why wouldn't she? The natives confront Columbus over him taking their gold, but...
Made squishy with the swarm. How can we ever thank you?
You can kill him, for me, so you won't have to suffer from his tyranny later. And so the film winds down as everyone prepares to sail back home with their newly discovered gold.
Just think, Pico, because of you and me, one day there's gonna be a big city right here. And there's gonna be a lot of people, tall buildings. Maybe they're gonna name something after us. Who knows? Columbus Circle sounds good to me.
And what they don't show you is the blood of millions of people to make this happen. So, The Magic Voyage. What a hard movie to sit through. Not just because of the fact it's based on revised history, but because it was so hard to comprehend that it nearly broke me a few times. Seriously, the writing in this is atrocious, especially toward the end, as it often has no consistency or explanation to certain actions or characters. I know they wanted a lighthearted tale of Columbus, but they tried so hard to make slapstick that it gets more obnoxious over time. The villain makes no sense in his motivations, what he really is or how he came to be. And there's no real character arc for anyone. Not even for Pico and Marilyn, since they barely have any chemistry. It's just love at first sight, go and save her, the end. The quality of the voice acting varies between versions, as I did find a few from the Atlas dub to sound better than their Hemdale counterparts, though the songs were better in the latter despite being unmemorable. But of course, Hemdale overdid the ad-libbing to the point of sheer annoyance. As for the animation, it's choppy and uninspired, though the backgrounds and set pieces look really good. They certainly tried to make it look appealing, but it's pretty hard to given the source material. Seriously, a goofy satire to the history of Columbus is not something that can be done given the horrible things he's done. It'd be easier to adapt a story on the Titanic than it would a fairy tale version of Christopher Columbus. Needless to say, the film bombed big and was critically panned by critics everywhere, and as far to my knowledge, the film only ever received one DVD release, which seems to be rare these days given their price value. The Atlas dub is even rarer to find, and I believe only on VCD. It's currently available on YouTube, though I don't know if that version is intact or cut down from its original release. Still, no matter the version, this is a rather fascinating movie whose existence should not be so. And had it not been for the fact it's based on a historical figure, I'd probably rank this as being about as bad as Tentacolino. But otherwise, still better than Norm of the North. At least they didn't go full out with the pop cultural references here. And apart from the Columbus stuff, it's just another bad animated movie that tried to be like other popular studios, but couldn't. If you want to see it anyway, seek it out, but only at the risk of your sanity. I'm the Media Hunter. Media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.